Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your girl, Linda Summers. Welcome. Happy Tuesday? No, it's Thursday. God. Oh, God. Anyway, here we are. It's Thursday. I'm here in San Francisco, and I am joined today by my good friend, my good Judy, Bonnie Violet.
Hey, my name's not Judy, but hey, Bonnie Violet here.
Hey, Bonnie
Yes.
Violet. Oh my gosh. So yeah, for those who are going to be watching this, this is part of my efforts to connect with people from the community to help spread awareness of the organizations that exist today, to help spread awareness and uplift voices of queer folk. And I think it's really great that I get to do this with my good friend Bonnie Violet, who is the leader of Drag and Spirituality Summit, at least one of the leaders of Drag and Spirituality, and I am so honored to be sponsored by them this year.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we're thrilled to be able to sponsor you as well. You've been a huge supporter of not only the work of Dragon Spirituality, but I mean, you have you've shown up, but I think in a lot of ways you really, I mean, I think you are the quintessential kind of like role model, if you will, for Dragon Spirituality in a lot of ways.
thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. And I see that Jessica is joining us. I just want to say hi, Jessica. I see you. Thank
Yeah,
you. I'm sure you're looking great as well.
right. I'm sure they are.
With that being said, I think, yeah, so this is part of my efforts as I am campaigning for Empress. For those who do not know, I am the candidate for the office position of Empress of all of San Francisco, San Mateo, Marin County, which means that I have aspirations to step into a role that will require me to raise money for a whole year for charities of my choice. And I am so excited because over this past 4 to 5 years, I have done nothing but, or my drag has been really rooted in service, and I want to continue that work, which is why I decided to run for Empress, and it is why I am doing all of this. It's to really um, make a change and to show that young POC can step up and get into leadership roles. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining. And for those who are watching this, I'm super excited and I cannot express how grateful I am for your support. Now, I asked Bonnie Violet earlier this year or last year to see if she was willing to sponsor me because, as she mentioned, I have done a lot of work with her over this past 2 years. But I actually met Bonnie Violet at the Castro Country Club during her review or her RuPaul viewing parties, right?
Yes.
And it was so much fun. I remember being so new and not knowing anyone, to be honest, from the community, and just seeing Bonnie Bali and all her sparkle was just like what I needed in that time of my life. I was no drag queen yet, but I was definitely not shy when it came to makeup. I always had my eyes done to the best of my ability.
Yes.
And Bonnie Bali just created that sacred space for me when I needed it the most. And we have had this ongoing friendship since then. And
Mhm.
so, Bonnie Violet, please tell me more about you and the work that you do.
More about me. I was going to talk more about what you've done with the summit, but and with Dragon Spirituality in general. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist and digital chaplain. And one of the big projects that I've been focusing on over the last few years is the intersections of drag and spirituality. I think drag is oftentimes seen as an art form, if it's even seen as an art form, but it seems to be void of spirituality or religion, or somehow, people who do it are godless or lack spirituality, or all these sorts of things. And so um I've actually, my drag grew out of my spirituality. Actually, living a spiritual way of life actually drew me to do drag, which then eventually helped me to transition. So For me, but I know there's a lot of people who have struggled with seeing that those two things can exist together, both people who want to do drag as well as people who are not a part of our community, and really kind of having perceptions about who we are and why we do what we do.
That's great, and I think what I'm hearing is that you saw that there was not enough spaces where we can come together to talk about those kind of things, right? To talk about drag and spirituality, and I think it's been really great to be a witness of the work that you've done, and to really see that you have had the ability to just bring people together, to really celebrate that and to have those conversations.
Yeah, it's definitely felt really great to realize. I think sometimes we can feel so alone and isolated for like a number of things, whether it's being people in recovery, whether it's being queer. But drag, I think, is also something that can be an isolating experience. It kind of, sets you outside of community. In some ways it props you up in community, but then it also in some ways kind of removes you. So I think anything to kind of bring us together in an intentional way is very much worthwhile.
Yes, that is beautifully said. Beautifully said. Hey, Donna. Someone saying hi to you, Bonnie Violet.
You too. They said we're both beautiful.
Oh gosh.
Thanks for joining us, Donna.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Bonnie Violet. May I go ahead and ask you the second question?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those who are tuning in, I'm treating this like an interview, but I'm really hoping that it just flows into just having a conversation. But of course, I'm going to be looking down a lot to look at my questions because that's the queen that I am. All right. So, Bonnie Violet, how has drag helped you manifest your passions and goals?
You know, I mean, I think it's done it in so many ways, but the first thing that kind of jumped to mind is that I think that drag gave me an armor and a protection. I think it allowed me to really step more into who I am, even though I was scared shitless, like in transitioning and being a sober queer person. And I think just in life, sometimes it can feel a little scary. I live in Idaho now, which, it's politically, there's a lot of different, situations, but I think drag was a way for me to kind of like, it was a protection. I could put it on, so to speak. And like, I don't know, then people were like interacting with my drag persona, which was also me, but in some ways it just created this like safe barrier. And I felt like as a trans femme person that it seemed more acceptable to be a drag queen in public than it did a trans person or a person who is in transition. And that was just my own stuff at the time. But it definitely has been a place to kind of really help me grow and let more of myself out and to really discover more of me.
Yeah, no, I think that that's one of the things that really, bonded us together because I think we were both in a place where we were both we were existing, right? We were just coexisting with one another. But I think what was really missing was just finding that breakthrough, and I feel like drag has helped both of us to really find that. Um, you know, um, Drag helped you find your identity, and it really has helped you achieve some of the freedom that you were perhaps seeking. And I think for me speaking, like, I think it also did the same thing, because I think for so many years I allowed addiction to just sort of dictate my this narrative in my head. But I think drag has sort of like opened my eyes and made me realize that I'm not that piece of shit that people once told me. And I think I have to realize that, like, that there's just another way of living, and it's not believing that narrative.
Right. Well, and I remember there was a time when like and I hope this is okay to share, but like you had stopped doing drag because you weren't sure how to reconcile it with your spirituality. Do you want to share a little bit of that? Does that feel okay?
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. I think there was a time, for those who do not know, I actually started doing drag in 2019. I was probably like 2 months sober, and I remember being invited to perform at Mascara, which is the sober drag show in the Castro, and part of the Castro Country Club. And I remember having some of the best like moments every month that I have never experienced. But during the pandemic, when everything shut down, I was left to my own devices, and I was left with sort of figuring out where I am spiritually. And I think because I went through an experience where I was openly gay, but I was an addict. And so I decided to join a church where I became a disciple of Christ. I got baptized. I did this whole thing, right, for a whole year. And I think during that time of my life, like for me, like my relationship with God meant not being gay, not being queer, and sort of putting that in a box and saying, God, please don't let me you know open this again ever again, right? And I think that when I got sober, I sort of was like running away from dealing with all of that, or like sort of like opening that door again, like. And I think when I was finally like by myself, like with no contact, no physical contact with anyone, I had to sort of explore what that looked like for me now. Like, where does God like stand in my life? Like, what place does He have in my life, or they? What place does God have in my life? And I I couldn't help but just feel like I had to really like go back to that place in my head where like drag and being gay was not okay, and that I still was under this belief that I was not connected to a community. But slowly but surely, I got to sort of see that that was completely wrong. That I had finally found community, and that I was finally able to celebrate all parts of myself. My feminine side, my queerness, my brownness, everything about me that made me unique and special. Like I was finally able to celebrate it because of drag, and I think that I finally was able to kind of get through that like hard, like that obstacle that and here I am, like running for Empress because
Yeah.
that's what happens when you surrender and you sort of go with the flow, knowing that God is with you. God is in every single thing that I do, and I think it's really amazing.
Yeah, and girl, you are a drag queen. There's no doubt about it. I remember when you were saying, "No, I'm not going to do it." I'm like, that doesn't seem right, because you are like, you're such a great drag queen. There's a lot of drag queens and a lot of people who do drag, but it's definitely like I feel like it's what you're created for, in a lot of ways.
And I have that, and I have people like you to thank for that. So thank you for
Right.
giving me the space to go through that experience. Like, not really. Like, I think you're not the only one who remembers that. Like, I still have so many folks who come to me and like mention that. Like, do you remember that time when you almost quit drag again?
You
And like,
literally put drag in a box.
yeah, but the drag was in me always, and I think it's so great that I get to share it with the world now.
Did you want me
So
to ask you one of these questions?
oh,
Did you?
sure.
Yeah, because you had me, you were like, right?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said earlier, like yes, this is sort of like an interview, but I also want to treat it as a conversation. So part of being in a conversation with someone is allowing each party to have the mic.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the questions that we had discussed in our previous conversation was, in what ways do you see the Imperial Council contributing to the broader social and political landscape? Just a little question.
Yeah, so for those who do not know, for those who are not, in California or in San Francisco specifically, or in the Bay Area, the Imperial Council of San Francisco was started in 1963. It was founded by Mama Jose Saria, who was the first self-appointed Latina Empress. And the Imperial Council has raised money over the last, 59 years. They were really active, especially during the AIDS pandemic, right? So, the Imperial Council is one of the oldest LGBTQ nationwide organizations that have really, been present, active, and visible, and it's been fabulous. And I think with everything that's going on, I think it's been really important to see that there is potential for young leaders, for young people to step into leadership roles. And I feel like the impact that the council can have is that the council can show, or that the court is showing that people like me can have aspirations and can put in the work and find themselves in this position where they are, you know, proud and really trying to reach people that are that probably don't have access to resources and or information. And I think that if I were to be elected Empress, I think that will be one of my biggest goals, which is to continue to spread the good work of the court and to really showcase that um, that anyone is welcomed. Anyone is welcome. Because I feel like with everything going on in the world, I feel like we need spaces where we can still have fun and
Right.
work towards the cause.
Yeah, well, and I think, for an organization to be going for 59 years, I think that really speaks to the organization. But I think also, I think it's so easy to become irrelevant or not be relevant or not really be in touch or have the pulse of what's really going on. And so I have noticed, especially like in San Francisco, it seems like the court really has, being an Empress, you're able to really focus. Maybe HIV and AIDS isn't the issue. Now there's other issues, and you're able to kind of like pivot and respond to where the most need is, which I think is, I guess, a blind spot that some organizations struggle to meet up with, I guess.
Yeah, and we need more queer voices, in the at the table. We need younger queer voices to speak up on things that maybe most people, in the older generation wouldn't be so comfortable talking about. And I think that it's been really important for me to kind of be aware that there are issues that need to be addressed. But maybe sometimes it doesn't have to be like done in public. It can just be done on a one-to-one basis.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm really, really excited about to explore if I were to step into the role and be elected Empress.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you so much for asking me that question. Oh my gosh. I know I gave you those questions and I did not prepare for it.
I know there's one more. Are you ready for that one too?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, for you, Bonnie Violet, my good friend, being trans and a drag queen, what is your response to the anti-trans bills being introduced? What do you hope for the younger generation to make out of this?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just to keep hope. I do feel like that, like we'll persevere. Our people who've come before us and have had it worse, or I want to say different. It feels very dire, and it is scary, and it is serious in a lot of ways. I don't want to minimize it. But I do feel like in my heart of hearts that this is just a moment in time, and it's really kind of a last ditch effort from the people who don't understand us to come at us. And I think it's kind of like the last, it's like a dog that bite. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I feel like it's like the last little fight before we finally like conquer, I guess our existence and that. So I think really just trying to keep the hope and I think also just see the intersections. I think one of the great things in some ways, I feel like they've come after drag queens to get to trans people, but I think in doing that, they've created more advocates and a larger community of folks who can advocate for these issues because it's impacting, cisgendered gay men in particular. I mean, it impacts anybody who does drag, but I think it now hits a broader range of people, and hopefully the numbers will allow us to see where our issues are the same.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point of view, and I feel like, yeah, like you said, like if anything, they have just created more groups of people to just stand up and have a voice on this matter, because I think it's important to understand that yes, they're introducing these bills against drag queens, but really, it's to attack, trans individuals. And I think it's important to know that these are things that we will not stand for. We will we will stand up and do our best to fight against all this hate.
Yeah.
Really, it's just a lack of understanding, I believe.
Yeah, I struggle with labeling it hate. I do feel like there's more of a fear or a misunderstanding. I don't claim to know what the drive or the thing is, but I don't think there are too many people who actually hate us. They might have some internalized hate that they're projecting onto us, but I don't think there's, you know what I mean? I just don't
Yeah.
think hate is always what is, I guess, the emotion or the thing that is driving people to try to rob us of our freedom and our happiness and our joy.
Good
And
point.
try to. They're not
Yes.
do it.
Good point. Good point, my friend. Let's see. So how are we doing with time? For those who are joining and watching and hearing us talk about all things drag and identity and queerness, I hope. Can we see if anyone has any questions?
Yeah, folks, if you're, there are folks that are with us now. So whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, just put in the comments a question that you have for Linda, and we'll ask her of it. So yep, do that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so late already, but it's not. It's
Say
been a
that
long
again.
day. It's been
Oh,
a long day. I feel like my brain's not at full cylinders or all cylinders. See, I can't even speak.
we'll have to keep in mind that you're also 1 hour ahead.
Right, but it's like 9:30. It's not that bad, but hey.
It's a weeknight. Yeah, for those who are also joining, my name is Linda Summers, and I am the candidate for Empress of all of San Francisco, San Mateo, and Marin County. And part of my campaign is to meet with folks from the community to talk about, about what they do, and really to share some like information on like the organizations that they're part of or are are a part of. So I'm here meeting with Bonnie Violet, who is one of the leaders and co-creators of Dragon Spirituality, and I'm just so honored to be having this time with you, my friend. Okay, so let's continue the conversation. And how do we feel? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm good with
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
awesome.
there's not any questions in the comments yet.
Cool. Let's see. So, spirituality has been so important to you. How do you tap into that when things feel overwhelming from all the current world events?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's, a lot of with what's going on for me with just where I'm at in my transition and doing drag is I've really kind of isolated myself a lot or kind of pulled myself away from people. It's harder for me to get out in front of people. And in that experience, it's really drawn me nearer. And I've started to, read more, or I have an altar and I read tarot and I do that with other people. And I would say in a lot of ways, my spirituality is what gives me hope. It's what gives me strength. It's what reminds me of what's important. And it kind of gives me a higher purpose, I think, or a better understanding. And so for me, it's kind of, it's the guiding light. It's the thing, if anything, that helps keep me going or looking in the right direction and not getting caught up in all the muck of everything.
Mm.
There is a question or a comment. Donna says, the laws being enacted have given me more resolve to be a public trans woman. It prompts interaction and gives me opportunity to educate. I'll answer anyone's question except what's under my skirt. Yes. So it sounds like,
Fabulous.
yeah, I think it has empowered some people. I think some people might choose, and I think that's kind of like fight or flight, or, you know, kind of our different responses to things. Some people are going to take up the fight, and others are going to do it a little bit more behind the scenes, but all of it matters, and all of it is going to have an impact in the long run. And I think all we can do is what feels best to us, and hope that it's helpful to the people around us.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that, Donna.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, Donna. But yeah, as far as like, you know, how you tap into your spirituality, I think that's been, you know, I think that's really great. Um, where are you with your spirituality today?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think the big question is like, I think I one of the things I've always been is just kind of seeking and reaching and attempting to connect with more of myself and things outside of me. Whether it's, sometimes I have a hard time believing in the magic of spirituality or some of the more woo-woo things, but I don't know. I just feel like I don't have a religion. I don't have like a dogma that I'm attached to. But I do believe that I have a spiritual, I have a spirit, and basically I want to tend to that just in the same way I would my mind or my body, or my emotions. And so I think for me, really just being able to focus on my spirit is just, yeah, I mean, it's really important. And I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit, but I don't, it's not super defined, but it's something, like it's an experience that I have. Like it's real, it's tangible, but to speak about it or define it kind of sells it short. I feel like
Yeah.
it's more of an experience than like an action or a actual thing. It's really, you know, just more of an experience. You know it, you know, like, you know, if you know, you know, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, what I have found very helpful is just to practice mindfulness as much as possible, because a lot of times I get sort of stuck in that spiral, and especially with everything that's going on, I have to remember that like some things I'm just really powerless over, and the only thing that I'm really capable of doing is just tapping into myself and really finding that light,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how painful it is. And I think that the spaces that you have created for so many of us, I think that's really where I have found some of that calmness that I feel like I have always been lacking in my life. Being able to just say, okay, who I am and what I bring to the world is real, then, you know, by doing that, I'm able to sort of, you know, get
Yeah.
through whatever I'm like, I'm willing to feel or experience at that moment.
Right. And I think much like you, it's like, you know, I feel happy to for like be for others what I needed for me. And I see
Mm,
that with you as well. You know, like we didn't see a lot of people like ourselves where we grew up or where we came from. And so discovering who we were, for me, I had to see other people who were a little closer to me so that I could at least have the imagination and let myself be. And so I mean, that's why I'm so visual, like why I'm so, I guess, what's the word, visible, and do the things that I do, is because I want to be that for somebody else. Like I want to, and that's the spiritual of that, you know, I want to pass it on. Somebody gifted it to me, and because they gifted it to me, because I got allowed to perform at mascara, you know, which allowed me to find my drag, which and it was a safe place. It wasn't full of drugs and alcohol, and it wasn't full of critical, mean people, and I could just like be not good at it and just, you know, learn and grow it. And then I was able to, you know, do get, you know, be able to transition. And for me, it took having to leave, you know, I don't know, it took me seeing it in other people and seeing it in the world in order for me to think that maybe I could be that too. And so it feels good to get to be that for somebody else, because I know how important it has been to me in becoming who I am today.
I
How?
just feel like I have seen like you grow so much over this past, you know, several years, and it's so nice to know that like I get to share this experience with you in this journey, because I think that what you said was just everything that I feel like is what like helps me get up every morning and know that I'm doing the next right thing, because for so many years I don't think I ever saw someone like me, and I think that's why I do what I do, because I finally found that strength to just to be myself, and
Yeah.
see so many be themselves as well, and I think that's magical. It's really.
And how is it for you being a drag queen who is in recovery? How has that been for you? I think some people might, I don't know, I think some people might not know how that happens. Like, how has that been for you to be both sober, in recovery, and also a drag queen?
I think what's been really interesting about being sober and a drag queen is that I get to sort of see that yes, that's a good, really, really, really good question. I feel like what I get to see as a sober drag queen is not so much the difference between me and someone who's actually drinking, but I get to see the similarities between me and the person who's drinking or not drinking, right? I get to be present and take in information that I probably wouldn't be taking if I was high on something. Um, and being a sober drag queen means that I get to show up and leave early.
Right.
It means that I get to, you know, not create more of a mess than what I already am feeling, if that makes any sense. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times, drag for me is an escape, not so much an escape, but it helps me get out of whatever mindset I'm in that day. Because, I don't have, not every day is a good day. And as sober drag queen, I have to remember that I get to experience life without the use of substances. And sometimes it's harder to hide those emotions. So when I show up to a gig or to some sort of event, I have to remember that I'm also human, that I
Mm.
get to feel my emotions, that I don't have to be on the whole time, and that I get to, let people know that, yes, I'm having a bad day, but I'm still here today. I get to still show up for what said yes to. Um,
Yes. Mm.
so I think that's what my journey has been as a sober drag queen, is like realizing that I'm human, I'm not a robot.
Mm.
I don't get to check out. I don't get to check out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get to check out. I get to really feel my emotions and have my experience.
Yeah. One of the questions that you had, or that we talked about before, was for you, what experiences or skills from your background do you believe uniquely qualifies you for the role of Empress?
Yeah, good question. I would say that some of the unique skills, right, or what I get to bring to the court, as a potential elected empress, is my openness, or sorry, what I get to bring to the court is my transparency, right?
Mm.
I am very open about being sober, about being HIV positive, about being a victim of so many different kinds of trauma. Um, and I get to sort of show and be a representative, not so much a representative, but an ambassador of what
Mm.
it means to overcome those barriers, and live life at life, on life's terms. I don't believe that I'm any more special than the next person who's going to run for Empress. However, I do see that I do bring something different. Again, I'm a young POC queer folk who is running for Empress, who has the willingness and desire to step into this role. And I have such a great support system that is willing to help me if I were to be elected Empress, and I think that um, I have the experience, and I'm teachable. I think that's really what will make me stand out the most, is that I am teachable. Because that's what sobriety teaches us. Sobriety teaches us that we don't know it all. We are no gods. And we have to remain teachable. So I think that will be the most unique skill that I will bring to the court if I were to be elected Empress.
Awesome. There's a comment from Tony. Tony says, sending love to the both of you. It's amazing to hear queer voices speak on what we all go through.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for acknowledging what we are doing here today.
Yeah. And we're at about 35 minutes just for a time check for you. So I'm not sure how you're feeling about things, but that's where we're at.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have gone over more than I had expected, but that's okay because this is what we do. We love to talk, and
so
yeah.
How can people vote for you, or how should people, like, what, if people don't know a lot about you or the Empress or any of those, how could they learn more, and where do they go to vote?
Yes, for those who are wondering, I am the candidate for Empress of all of San Francisco, San Mateo, and Marin County. And to learn more about me, you can go to my website at linda2024.com. And to learn more about the Imperial Council of San Francisco, you can go to Imperial Council of San Francisco. Oh my gosh. Anyways, you can go to my website to get more information on where you can learn about the Imperial Council of San Francisco. But voting day is on Saturday, February 17. You must have a valid ID, and you must be a resident of San Francisco, San Mateo, or Marin County. And there are 3 locations, one at the Cinch, one at Castro, and the third one in front of the powerhouse. Again, you can go to my website for the times and the exact location. Also, I have 2 upcoming fundraisers. I have one of them that's happening this Sunday at Queer Arts Future, where we will be doing a musical night because the gays love music. They love musicals. And then next Saturday, the 10th, we are having a black and white ball to really showcase all the different personalities and styles of drag. And I just want to bring attention by, by giving it a theme, a black and white ball. So, yeah. Yeah.
And if I was going to say, and if folks are interested in drag and spirituality, maybe you haven't heard about it or you want to learn more, you can check out a podcast or on YouTube at Dragon Spirituality, or you can also go to our website at dragonspirituality.com to learn more there, and join us in Toronto on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for our 3rd annual Dragon Spirituality Summit.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, before we end this conversation, I really want to thank you, Bonnie Violet, for taking the time to have a conversation with me about all things drag, identity, and queerness, and to talk a little bit about my campaign. If someone was considering doing drag for the first time and was looking for a community, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing, I think it's helpful to be a fan of drag, so I think one of the big first things to do is, like, if you meet a drag artist or you see somebody that you really like and they're local, obviously, I mean, I think nowadays you can connect with people who aren't in your community, and some of us don't live in areas where we have access to drag. But I think just being able to ask somebody who does drag, but I think kind of, I don't know, there's a mindfulness, but I think just ask, just do it. Part of it is just do it. For some people, they feel good trying it at home first and just playing with makeup or whatever. I'd say don't let being perfect keep you from starting, or even keep you from putting yourself out to the world. I do think drag families or mentors, or being able to find other people who do drag as well, can really kind of help you, teach you the skills that you need to have. Also build the community, because it does, people see you differently. Some people don't want to date you anymore, and family don't, family, it's a whole nother thing. Even if you're already gay or trans, it's like, oh, now you do drag, so there's a lot of things to kind of navigate through. It is so worth it. I think that drag is such a beautiful gift to me, as well as it's a gift that I get to give to the world. And I think it's just transformative and powerful to the person who gets to do drag, as well as anyone who gets to see it at all. And so that's kind of, I just frickin' do it, and hang out with some people who do it as well. I think most of us will love to to show you around. And if there's somebody that's just find somebody else. Don't take it personal, find somebody else.
Yes, do not take anything personal. And if you are a resident of San Francisco or just, live in the Bay Area, mascara, mascara is a really great place. That's where I got my start. That's where Vani Vale got her start. Is that where you got your start, Vani
Oh,
Vale?
totally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where a lot of us got our start. And so if you are looking for a space where you can come and perform for the first time and have some ideas, hit me up, send me a message. I'm no longer the host of Mascara, but I know somebody who is, and they'll be more than happy to put you in the show. Again, you can learn more about me at linda2024.com or send me a message at Miss Linda Summers. And I don't know if I have other handles, but yeah.
They can find it all on your website, though, yeah?
Yes, they can.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess let's call it a night. Again, thank you all so much for joining. Donna, again, thank you for joining and listening and showing us so much love. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I hope to meet you one day.
Awesome. All right.
Bye, Violet. I love you. Thank you so much.
Too. And I can't wait till you're Empress. I know you still have to, all that sort of stuff, but I'm just so ready for it.
Yes, and for those who do not know, if I am to be elected, I will be the third elected Latina Empress, which is such a big deal. No pressure at all, but yeah, cast your vote and vote yes for Linda Summers. # Summer's coming early. Mwah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.